and it's their intrinsic
And then, this food basically robs.
sound feasible, sound like everybody, thanks for watching. Now, when you pay attention to the economic situation in the African American community, you can see clearly, and this is like common sense, you can see clearly that every race that comes into the Black community gets rich off the Black community. Everybody is making money. That money stays in the Black community, as I mentioned before, for about 6 to 8 hours before it leaves. You have to understand, all these races of people, all these groups of people that are not us, are taking that money back to their, their communities, back into their economy, and stimulating their economy and keeping their people out of poverty and in mansions and in nice homes. The African American community has put more children, white children, Asian children, through college than we have put our own kids through college. We have created more white and Hispanic and Asian multimillionaires than we have created, Black people that got, $100,000. And this is something that we really have to look at and understand, the buying power. I know everybody talks about this and say, well, Black people buy so much and we spend so much money. I mean, this is not a thing that we're saying. You got to realize this. You have a situation where we are being leached off, where everybody else is blood-sucking leeches and we are just this one body that everybody is feeding from, and they are eating good. And the problem with that is we are not able to sustain ourselves, because everybody is leeching off the Black community. The issue is we allow them to. We can stop all of this. We can change the flow of wealth from us to them and keep it within our community. But we got to understand first how this thing works. Now, in previous videos, I talked about how, integration really hurt Black businesses in the 60s. Before integration, before we was allowed to actually go to these other places and shop and spend our dollars, you had the dollar staying in the Black community, for months, because we wasn't allowed to go spend it really anywhere else. And a lot of times we didn't want to go to the white shops and to these white stores because of, the whole racial issue. And Black people felt more comfortable spending their dollars within their community. So the dollar stayed and it circulated. Not everybody back then was doing well and had, good businesses and stuff like that. But for the most part, you had a lot of African Americans who was doing okay, because the money that came from the Black community went right back into the Black community. And we started to build success from that. And then another problem was, since, some people were poor and were on welfare, this really hurt the economy overall. Let's just say the white economy. Now remember, Reagan gave a speech. I showed this in a previous video about how the economy wasn't doing so well. This is right before they ended Jim Crow and everything. And the thing is, you had Black people who was poor, who was on welfare. And the issue was, you had Black people taking this welfare from the government, this government money, and not putting it back in the white economy. We was putting it back in a Black community. So we basically getting money from Uncle Sam, taking his money, spending it in the Black community, and then staying within the Black community, thereby, boosting the Black economy and not, the white community. And of course, They caught on to that. That wasn't going to last too long. They giving us money and we using it to better ourselves. So integration was a must. They couldn't just cancel welfare for the black community. So it was something that had to be done, that they had to integrate. So all that money that these poor black people was getting wasn't going back into the black community, but they could spend it, on white shops and white restaurants and spend it to help stimulate the white community. So I want you to understand this whole thing from like an economic standpoint, from a business standpoint. Most black people back then, the only jobs they can get if they didn't own their own company or their own business or whatever like that was working for the white man, working for white people, housekeeping or cleaning the streets or shining shoes or what have you. Now think about this. We working for the white man, taking the white man's money, bringing it back to the black community and building wealth, building success off of their money. Some race has to be the economic source of funds. If we keep only spending money within our community, then that money is just circulating within our community. We need to bring in some outside money to boost the economy in our community, to boost the economic situation in our community. So think about it. If our economy as black people only has, let's just say, $10 million. That $10 million is going to keep circulating within the community. We got to bring in some outside money to add to that 10 million we got. So we all got $10 million, let's just say, split between us, and I go shop in this black store in the black community. All I'm doing is just spreading around the 10 million that we already had as a people. It's not really generating any wealth for the community as a whole. So even though you had, let's say, 2 million and I came to you and I spent 200,000, now you got 2,200,000, but it's still within that 10 million within the black community, if you understand what I'm saying. What you have to do is you have to go and bring money from outside the community and bring it in. So then that way, everybody has this split of the 10 million, but now we just brought in another 10 million and double our money. So now we could do more as an economy. So understand, where are you going to get this other 10 million from? One group of people has to be the race or the people who is going to fund your community growing. Because before they came in and spent their money, you had one source of money. You had one, economic source that was funding your economy. So yeah, the government comes in sometimes and puts in money for certain things like roads and stuff like that. But even still, that's budgeted for, and you don't look at that as, contributing. So after desegregation, after Jim Crow ended, you make it so now African Americans, black people can come into the white community and spend money. It's just not economically smart to keep us out when we have such buying power. Even back then, this is a whole nother race of people bringing in funds to that white economy, boosting the economy. Forget all the hate shit. This is business. And it's something that a lot of white people didn't really understand at first, but they begin to understand. Use these Negroes, use these black people to make yourself wealthy. And that's exactly what happened when they ended the whole Jim Crow thing. So now they said, okay, after years of hate, after years of slavery and everything else, they said, y'all can come here and y'all can shop. We went and let y'all piss where we piss or drink off the same fountain as us, but now y'all can come chill with us. Y'all can shit with us and everything else. Just bring me your money so I can get wealthy and move far away from you where I don't have to see you no more. And that's basically what happened. So now they gave black people this false sense of, finally we can belong. We can do the same thing as they can do. And you seen back then in the 50s and 60s, after, integration and everything, you seen it back then. Remember, a lot of black people was walking around with those, slick hairdos and suits, standing on the corner, trying to be accepted by white America, trying to fit in with having, to come into white America, come into the white community to work or to shop, to try to fit in and try to, be accepted. And of course, we know that didn't work. We still got beat up. No matter how we looked, they didn't care. It was a, business first thing. This is business, and we still hate you niggas. We just want your money. And this is something you got to understand. And that's one of the things I really want to get into in this video, so you can realize that there has to be a people to stimulate your economy. And this is what we have done for, decades now. We continue still to this day to do it, to boost the economy. Now you look at the news and you look at all the people talking about the numbers of how, the wealth gap between African Americans and white people and this and that. We are to blame for that. We are to blame for that because of ignorance, because of stubbornness, and because we simply don't want to accept what we already know. And that is the fact that they are not going to let us simply surpass them in wealth and success. They're not going to let it happen. You can sit and stand in line for hours and vote for whoever you want to vote for. It's not going to happen. The only way it's going to happen is if we come together collectively and say we are not going to shop here. We're not going to spend our money with you. And this is the problem. We keep spending our money and building their economy and breaking down ours. Now you got to understand they have successfully, with integration and with desegregation, they have successfully destroyed the black business, got rid of it, crippled it, because now they said, okay, y'all can come here and shop, y'all can spend your money. So what you have is you have all those black businesses having to compete with those white businesses who got way better product, way more variety. And it wasn't that, the black stores was trying to cheat black people. It's because they didn't have the same access to the same things, of course, as the white business owners. And it is what it is. A person want what they want. You want to spend your money on something that's, quality. We didn't think about it as how it would really affect the economy or us as a whole. So we basically, when you think about it, when you look at it this way, you had us bottled into this one area, black people spending money together, living together. We was united by the simple fact that they hated us and they said, we can't do this, we can't do that. And we was driven by that to the point where we wanted to succeed and surpass them. And that's what we started to do. But as soon as they said, okay, y'all can come here, we left this area and we basically spread out to where you had some black people stay in the black community. You had a lot of people go in between. And the ones who could afford now to go live in a white community, they did so. Because it's something deep down in black people, due to slavery, epigenome, I like to always talk about, that slave gene that wants to be accepted by master. We want to be accepted by these white people. It's something inside of us, not all of us, because I don't give a shit, that wants to be accepted by them. And that's what it was back then. So since so many people wanted to be accepted and now they had the opportunity to go out and be successful and try to fit in with these white folks, that's what they did. So, I mean, when you look at it from, I'm going to just say a strictly ignorance standpoint, not calling anybody stupid, just saying they had no clue. I mean, when you living in a world where everything that is good is white. Everything that you hope and dream and want for, you see white people have it. When you live in a situation like that, where white people have all the power and it's really not much you can do, you can't really blame a people. You can't blame those people for wanting to just fit in and to be accepted so that they can have a chance to be successful and reach their dreams. Now, and of course, as you can imagine, this was confusing for a lot of black people. You got to realize some black folks back then never set foot out of the black community for a lot of reasons, but they was forced to as they got older, to go out and get jobs or to go somewhere and do something that was important that they had to go through a white community. But a lot of people grew up and, there was teenagers or in their 20s, like in the 40s and 50s, that a lot of people just stayed in the black community, because why would you want to go to a white community or go near a white community where you could get lynched or beat up or called names or spit on and stuff like that? This was something that a lot of people was fearing back then. And it's weird because this is one of the reasons why I like speaking to old people. I'm telling you, if you have a chance to really talk to somebody who lived back then, do it. It's going to blow your mind, especially from a historical or scholarship type of position. Talk to these people. They got some stories. I used to always ask my mom questions, about back then and how things was and how she felt. And a lot of old people I spoke to who lived through segregation, who remember seeing Dr. King on TV. I mean, just think about that. They have that memory, and hearing them explain how things was and how the signs, can you imagine that? Whites only, blacks only, how that was, interacting with white people and going to certain neighborhoods. And it's an amazing conversation to have with a black person who's lived through that, or a white person even who's lived through that, who can tell you from a different perspective of how things was and how messed up things was. So, of course, you understand a lot of black people was confused. They never been out of the black community, some of them. And then, once integration happened, a lot of them was forced to go to white schools and, work with white people and things like that. It was something that really, shook up the people, and they really didn't know how to deal with that emotionally. Fortunately for us, we had people like, Malcolm X, who didn't really want to bow down to that whole system. We had Dr. King, and Dr. King was pushing for the whole, hold hands and integration and everything like that, and just, really respect. But me, I'm not Muslim, of course, but I push more towards Malcolm X, his whole reasoning for, we want respect. We're going to build our own business. We're going to do our own thing. We was doing well. Y'all coming here messing with us. Let us be successful, because as I said before, I think we would have got more respect as a people had we built our own economy and built our own wealth from ourselves, instead of, mixing with white people and mixing with the white community and having to depend on them and depend on the government system to build wealth. And this was the issue. And this is the whole key to this whole thing, because this is actually what happened. The speeches Malcolm X gave, the stuff he talked about back then was on point. Him and a few other people. It's on point when you really pay attention. You have to now, unbeknownst to black people, use them. So basically what they were saying back then is, we need y'all black folks. We ain't gonna tell y'all that. We need y'all to come and work for us, to work more. You have to realize the jobs, the positions that now was created because black people was integrating. You had to, create jobs to deal with black people, all the new black people that was gonna be coming into your shops and your stores. You gotta hire people. So it created, a plethora of jobs for white people everywhere. So now you got more white people being employed who wasn't employed because of integration. So that's now white people making money. And you had black businesses now going under, more white businesses coming up and strengthening from black dollars. So when we talk about the African American community and our economy, you got to go back and look and see how integration and everything else strengthened their power, their reach. It strengthened their whole community and their economy, while really crippling ours when it was right on the verge of exploding into something very successful. Now, we always talk about Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street this, Black Wall Street that. A lot of people always bring it up, especially me. I know I bring it up a lot, but I always give you, a good explanation too why I bring it up. But you got to look at how Black Wall Street became successful. I mean, pay attention to it. How do you think they was able to build that kind of wealth? You had a whole community, not just the community, almost a whole town, a bunch of black people trading wealth, but not just that, going outside of the black community and bringing in white money. Bringing in money from successful business transactions, and it was able to take the profits from that and, make new stuff, buy planes and, open more businesses and movie theaters. And what Black Wall Street was the blueprint for African American success. And I guarantee you, we were following up on that. It would have spread. I keep telling y'all, no matter what we do, we are successful. Whenever we get together and do anything, we become unstoppable, and they understand that. This is why we have so many hurdles in our way now, because if we ever get united and put our heads together, more than anybody else, we coming out on top, and it's something that they know. So there's so much in place to keep that from happening. When you want to talk about an economy, an economic situation as far as Black people, such a thing cannot exist. And it's just keeping it real. It can't happen. And you don't see it happen. Look around at every other race. Everybody has something. You got Mexicans who got stores and restaurants, and they have a culture, and from their culture they can open restaurants and sell their food. You get what I'm saying? They do that. Same thing with Asians, Dominicans, white people. Everybody does that and has a situation where you go into a Chinatown, or you go to Meadville, or Hispanic places, and you go into of course the white community, and you see all of this success in businesses and companies from these races of people. Where's ours? We don't have any of that. So you can see the reason why all of these races thrive and are successful, because not only do their own race contribute to that success, we do as well. And all the other races as well. We come into, the Asian community, and we want to eat. We go to Chinatown and we eat. Now, when going into Chinatown and eating and spending our money, we are stimulating their economy. We're putting money that's not going to go back to our community, but it's going to go to theirs. Not saying that we can't go nowhere outside the Black community and spend money. Cool, that's no problem. The problem is they're not coming into our community spending money that's going to benefit us. You see, it should be an equal trade system. That's all over the world, except for we don't have that as a people. Remember, Africa feeds the world. We come into Africa, but where most of the money is gone, it's going to either corrupt, African dictators who sold out to the white man, or it's going to South Africa, which, the white people is running, and Black people are what? We are the same there as here. We're not really eating all the way we should eat. And that's even crazier for it being Africa. There shouldn't be one poor citizen in any country in Africa when you look at the wealth that it generates for the world. It's ludicrous. So you can see, not just in America, how everybody's leeching off us, but in Africa as well. There has to be a people that's going to stimulate the economy more than everybody else. But the issue is, it's not really so much about that. It's really is if it's equal and it's fair. Because if we had the same things that they had, then we would have, all the other races, white, Hispanic, and Asian, coming into the Black community to spend their money to stimulate the Black community. But we have nothing. Their stores are in the Black community. So we got to understand how it works. It's like monopoly. This is your area. If you land on my area, you have to pay me money. Don't land here. If you do, you want to stay room and board, you want to eat, guess what? It's going to cost you money because this is my area. Well, okay, next time you leave your area and you come into mine, if you stop here, guess what? You have to spend money. The problem is when they leave their area to come to our area, guess what? They own our area as well. So when they spend money, it's like they're giving themselves money because that money is going back to their area. You got to understand how this thing works. When you want to talk about economics and economy, as far as African Americans, they can't allow it. Now understand, this creates a problem for us because no community, no group of people can successfully sustain themselves without an economy of their own. You have to have an economy of your own to do things like, fix problems, poverty issues. School issues. Another thing you got to understand that the schools in your community, they get new books, they get new things based upon the taxes that is produced within that community. So if the taxes that are produced in that community are only from things like going to the Chinese store, going to the poppy store, going to the discount store, going to maybe McDonald's or something like that, no real wealth, no industry, no corporations. Of course, most corporations you'll see on the outside towards the city. I should say more in the inner city, you see, downtown areas, major builders and corporations. But even still, if those people who run those corporations live in that community, guess where the money is going? So even if we had a, corporation outside the Black community, the people who own it still coming into the Black community. So understand, we're not really generating no revenue that's going to go back into that economy to help schools out, to generate major tax dollars to help schools. So if you don't have an economy to benefit your people, then you have to rely on another people. So what do we rely on? We rely on the government. Plain and simple. We rely on the white man to help us out. When something goes wrong, who do you look to? Oh, we got to call a city. We got to call a state. Instead of us being able to go into our own pockets or to each other and put together some kind of situation where we can fix our own problems, we got to wait on the government to do it. And then that's going to be a problem. That's going to be tax dollars. But look at the way everybody else economy works compared to ours, and you can see what exactly we need to do. We got to stop, for one, being everybody's leech and letting them, suck us dry. And that's what's going on. We feeding too many people and we ain't feeding ourselves. And that's like the worst thing you can do as far as being in a position of survival, of being, self-sustaining. You can't give away your number one resource to another people. It's going to kill you. It's going to drain you. And that's what it's doing to us. And we have to realize that. So understand, if you live in a community where the community itself is not self-sustaining, the community itself is relying on an outside source. Everybody in that community leaves that community to go work for another community, another group of people, right? We take our money from that people, we go home, and then the money we get from those people, we give it right back to them. It's an illusion that you just brought wealth home, that you brought money home. The illusion is we'll give it to you for a second, knowing that you have to come back to us and give it back to us. That's the illusion. And since it's so many stores, so many different corporations, so many companies, we think that, we just feeding different people when it's all really one race, one group of people, one corporation, one system. You understand what I'm saying? One system that we are feeding. We are effectively living in modern day slavery. That's all it is. If you don't put money into your economy, if you are not the group of people who controls the economic situation within your community, then somebody else controls it, meaning they control the community itself. So if we can't fix the roads or fix the schools and we got to rely on other people and beg, borrow, and steal to get, new books and new buildings for school, then that's not our community. We don't own it. They do. They do. It's slavery, and that's what you have to understand. This is modern day slavery. Just like being on a plantation, you go to work for the white man, you come back home with a little bit of stuff that you got, but now it's just making you think that you are free when really you're not. You're stuck back in that community. We just free range chickens now. That's all we is, free range chickens. You can go out, you can leave, but you gotta come back, and they know you gotta come back to sustain yourself. That's why if you do one little thing to try to build wealth, the way they build wealth, crookedly sometimes, you're going to jail, you're going to prison. It's just that simple. And of course that goes for everybody else, but even more so for us. You cannot sustain a community relying on another people. And we complain and we bitch and moan so much about things when we have to realize that we are the cause of this. And it's not popular to say that people don't celebrate Christmas. Don't celebrate, Thanksgiving and stuff like that. People ain't trying to hear that. They like feeding master and giving master the money to oppress them. So now in the video, the calculated destruction of the black man and woman, when I really got into this system, I talked about it. What this system is, we call the white man. This is what I'm talking about. It's a system. And you have to realize that it's really modern day slavery. We are really just free range chickens, free range sheep. And we go out and we spread out and we think life is good. Some of you that, went to school or got a good job and you got a car and you think everything is cool and you made it. You just really a free range chicken, because at the end of the day, if you ain't to work on time, if you not at meeting on time, if you mess up at work, guess what? You're fired, you cut. And if you're one of those people who live paycheck to paycheck or rely on a paycheck from these white people to pay your mortgage, to pay your bills, you know where you're going to end up at if you can't get another job. For some of you, if the white man cut you off and say you cannot work here, you can't work for us no more, you screwed. If the white man all of a sudden just said, we ain't hiring no more black folks, where you going to go work? Think about that. What you going to do? Where you going to go work at? You can go, the itty bitty amount of black businesses and corporations that do exist is going to be overwhelmed with black people trying to apply for jobs. So that's one. Two, the Jews, they barely hire black folks. Every once in a while they will hire you, but I consider them white people as well. Dominicans ain't dealing with you. The Puerto Ricans ain't hiring you. Mexicans ain't hiring you. They hire their own people. There's a bunch of those people looking for jobs as well before they hire one of you. The only thing you can do is go back to your own people. But if we don't have nothing, what do we do? And to keep it real, that's probably the best thing that could ever happen to us as a people, is if they said some shit like that. Because then we can go back to where we started at and rebuild and redo a whole other Black Wall Street. That'd be great. Because then, that forces some of you addicted, people who are addicted to master and the help that he give, forces some of you to come off of that bullshit and to do your own thing. Like I said before, no person, no black person, I don't care how many kids you got, what you're doing, should be on welfare for 5 years, 6 years. It's a crutch. It's a crutch. They want to give you food stamps and keep you in poverty, because they know if you relying on them for food stamps and relying on them for support, you're not a threat. You can't do nothing. And that's the thing. We got to stop relying on them for that. We free range chickens, y'all. It's just that simple. They give you enough money for you to go buy a car. You can go on vacation maybe once, twice a year, go out, have fun, this and that. But you always have to be back to the plantation at a certain time, and you got to work. Now, I'm not knocking nobody who goes to work and who work hard, but work hard for what? What is your goal? You went to school, you went to college to do what? To make another person rich, to keep this system going. You got a good job, you're making good money. To you, you say, well, that's all I care about. And that's exactly how they want you to feel, because then you're not worried about the rest of the community. So understand how that works. Not caring about the rest of the black community and what they do and what they're bringing back to the community that you all live in. If you got different people going out into different situations, different jobs, making money, spending money, sending it out to another community, then coming back to the black community with nothing. This is why it's important. This is why we can't keep saying, forget about them. Keep trying to, shit on each other and say, well, I'm successful, you not. Because we destroy the community. We keep the community in poverty because we are not bringing nothing to it. You can go on your vacation. You can go and buy a nice car, but you got to come back to this community. And you got to go back to work. You got to keep putting money in this man's pocket who don't probably know your name or know you exist. And this is the thing. If your goal is not to go to college or, take some kind of trade to one day open your own company or your own business, then you are supporting a system that supports, not just supports, that is actively destroying the black community. The only way to remedy this situation is to do what they do. And that's to, one, open corporations, businesses, companies to rival theirs, which is hard, of course, but not if we use the buying power that we have to support each other. To just simply support each other is more than enough. So, this whole thing is real obvious to me, and nothing to me is more sinister, more, sick and crazy than this whole system. When you start to really analyze it and how, everything that really goes into it, from the music to the movies to the news coverage and the media, the whole system, and how it's geared to really screw black people, to really keep us down. And I know somebody will listen to that and think that, oh, it's not that bad. If you got money, you can do this and that. And yeah, that's true. But if you have money, if one person have money, now the people who are rich, as far as like our athletes and our actors and entertainers and stuff like that, belong to this system. They are a part of this system. All of them help to keep us down. You don't realize that. A lot of these, rappers, you already know what they doing, and movie stars contributing to this whole nonsense, not giving back to the black community. It's something that you really got to think about and say, what the fuck? If I was raised in a house, I really didn't know the people in there. I just know we all lived in this house. If I was raised in this house with a bunch of poor people, we all went through some shit. If I somehow made it out of there and became rich, crazy rich and wealthy, I'm going back and I'm going to help those people. I'm going to get them out of there. I'm going to fix the situation, something. But they are doing absolutely nothing. And I'm not talking about all these charities and everything like that. I'm talking about people who really, even the ones who do give to charities, because some of these charities do help black people, but, it's certain ones. But, something to really affect the black community on a large scale, and or at least do something to put, black people in powerful positions in situations that's going to help us down the line. It's so many people in corporate positions that really help black people out, and some don't. So that's like the thing when you look at it. Either you a slave and you have a job and you working to further this system, to help the master out, to help the white community out. Or, you're a runaway slave and, you poor or you're homeless. And it's only a matter of time before you realize that you got to go back to the plantation or you're going to starve to death. Every runaway slave had that dream of making it to the north and, getting away from the slavers. And a lot of them was successful, because they had help. People like Harriet Tubman and even some white folks, I have to say, who actually took in black people and, helped them get to the north. You had help. Somebody helped you. But a lot of them had dreams of doing that. And it's the same today. A lot of you have dreams of, being successful, being a movie star or actor or what have you. And a lot of people are willing to do whatever to reach that dream, to get to that point. Now, as I said, I don't want to discourage anybody from, working, who has a job, who actually has a good job and making good money. That's a good thing. But as I said, if you're making money, you're taking it from the white man, but then you go on shopping and you spending it and giving it right back to them, what are you really doing for their system? What are you doing for their community? You're stimulating their community and not yours. We have this whole notion that, I'm doing good, I'm successful, you're not. So what? As I've said, it is exactly what brings us down, because none of us are bringing anything back to the black community as a group. Therefore, stimulating the community, this is something we are not doing. But yes, even though you do have a good job, what exactly is your goal? As I mentioned, you have to have a goal set to where you're going to come out of this position, this job. Use this job you have. Use the knowledge you learned to come out of there and open your own company or business and employ black people who can do the same later on. This is how we win. This is the only way we will win. Understand the goal is to make you proud of your position, to make you happy that you went to school and you have this job and you're doing well, and to get you to look down upon people who you know exactly where they came from. You know they came from poverty. You know they came from the hood. You know they didn't have a real shot at doing what you did. You was lucky enough to be successful, but your mindset is they was fucking up. We so hard on each other. We got to realize that, it's some black people who messed up out there from the community, but remember where they come from. They come from that community. A lot of people don't have the mental, stimulation to do anything great, or a lot of people just don't have the knowledge to do anything great. They come from a lot of, messed up homes and, ignorant people, ignorant families who just ignorant of the facts and how life really work. I had no clue when I was growing up in, the black neighborhood that things are the way that it is, that things are like this. Who knew such a thing? I was thinking that, I'm going to be able to go out and get a job and, be able to be successful and, do something good with my life. I didn't think it was a whole system in place that almost seemed petty, that's, constantly doing little teeny shit to keep black people down. I never fathomed when I was growing up in a black community, when I was growing up, that this kind of thing was in place to really keep me, little old me. Who am I? Nobody. Just to keep little old me from being successful. I never thought that we had so many roadblocks in our way. And as a lot of people still come out of the black community today who don't get that, who don't understand. I mean, more than when I was growing up, more so now, people get it because of, all the shootings and killings and, we pass down this information. But me growing up, I don't think any of us coming from my community, my neighborhood, thought about any of this kind of stuff. We was just, trying to survive. We wasn't thinking along the lines of someday wanting to be successful and, living a good life, that, we really took that whole dream for granted, thinking it's going to always be there and be easy for us to just say, well, let's stop selling drugs and let's go get a job and be successful. So when you get that success, when you graduate from college, when you get that good job, we got to stop looking down, at each other and pointing our fingers at each other and saying, you messed up because of you. We got to realize it's a system in place. Not making excuses for people who know about the system who still do bad. Those are the people who I do look down at and I say, well, it's a system in place. These white people not going to let you get shit. You got to wake up and do something. A lot of people just don't fathom that. And this is the issue. This is a major issue that we face as a people. We got to realize that people, we're not just conspiracy theorists. This is not just some stuff we making up. We can see it everywhere. It's a system in place to keep us down. Now, when you try to bring this up to some people, especially white folks, they ain't trying to hear that shit because they don't get it. When you say that, it's literally a system in place that's keeping me from being as successful as I want to be. Now, I can really hunker down as an individual and be successful, but as far as us as a people, it's not going to let that happen. So I'm out here in Hollywood in the hills, overlooking the city and everything. And one of the things I wanted to get into in this video is a problem that we have in the black community. And it almost seems like a sickness that we have, us as a black community, when one of our famous people is attacked. It's crazy how so many other African Americans jump on the bandwagon and attack those celebrities. I was surprised that a lot of black folks who actually believed the whole Bill Cosby scandal. So many black folks took to Twitter and Facebook and jumped on the bandwagon about Bill Cosby sexually harassing these women and never stopped to think about, this could be a setup. You have a successful, rich black man who, people love scandal. Whenever it's a scandal, people like to get into it and say that, oh, well, I knew he was doing something. And we have this notion with us. It's like a sickness to where we want to hate. We want to hate each other's success. You see another black person doing good and you want to hate his success. You want to hate on what he's doing. You don't want to support his clothing line because he's a black brother from the same neighborhood as you. You don't want to support something positive that black brother is doing because you know him and you don't think he'll succeed. It's almost like we cripple each other with our negativity. So I was shocked to see so many black folks actually turn on Bill Cosby and be like, I knew something was wrong with Bill Cosby. I knew something was up, instead of paying attention to the facts. And this is what we do. This is something that we have to stop in the black community and see that we are just really bringing each other down. And we are really, I'm looking at a little gecko over here. That's why I'm keep looking down. We got little lizards and geckos running around in here. Now, as I always say, these celebrities are sellouts. They sold you out for money, for fame. But it's not about them being sellouts. It's not about them being celebrities. It's about the image they represent. It's about the image they portray. And when you have a successful black man, rich, successful, we need that image to stay alive. We don't need it to be tainted. When white people mess up, other white people don't jump everywhere and attack that one white man, as much as we do. We go hard. It usually blows over with the white guy. The media talks about it for a second and then it's over. But then with black people, you see how the media do. They'll keep pounding it. They'll pound it. They'll pound it. We as black people cannot aid them and help them bring down our image. We have to just look at the facts and act accordingly instead of just saying, oh yeah, I knew something was up, or, they right, or something like that. And one of the people that a lot of people hate on, and it could be with good reason, but you got to look at the facts, and that's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, here you have a billionaire dude who owns a basketball team. It's not about what Michael Jordan did in his personal life or what he said. It's about that image, the image of a black man owning a basketball team. And to me, that is a real powerful image since we have nothing. We run this whole basketball thing. You got more African-American NBA ball players than any other race. And for us to have this one black owner is huge. And that's something we should support and support that image. Now, one of the things people always say about Michael Jordan is he don't do nothing for black folks. He don't help black folks because it's not really shown so much in the media about, the charities of Michael Jordan or what he do. Trust me, I was one of those people when everybody first coming out, started talking about Michael Jordan and this and that. I remember I think it was Chamillionaire. He was talking about when he met Michael Jordan at a club, and Michael Jordan wanted to take a picture with him and try to charge him money and all this and that. And I immediately was disgusted by that story that he told. And I was like, damn, the brother, successful brother doing this thing, you want to get all crazy and arrogant, and not take a picture with him. That was crazy. And that really made me really look into Michael Jordan, what he doing. I don't know if he had too much to drink that day or if he was just having a bad day. It was the same thing that Chamillionaire said. He said maybe he was having a bad day, but he had a bad experience when he met Michael Jordan. And I've heard that. But the thing is, I looked into him. I wanted to see what charities that Michael Jordan actually, dug into. Like, did he have any charities? Was he really giving money back to the black community? And yes, in South Chicago, he has a lot of black charities. He donates, he puts a lot of kids through school. Not only that, Michael Jordan is responsible for multiple CEOs being hired over at Nike. And not to mention, he has a black CEO that runs his Jordan brand. So Michael Jordan has made efforts. He has made strides in putting black people in high-ranking positions to help the whole, to help us come up and help us be in a position of power. And yeah, that's not going to be shown all the time mainstream, especially something like a black CEO of Nike. I never knew that until I did the research and I started looking into exactly what Michael Jordan was doing with his money. And for the most part, from what I've seen, you can do your own research and look for yourself. From what I've seen, he did a lot of good things with his money. He helped a lot of black folks. When you look at some of the pictures show, you always see him with a lot of black kids and helping black people. So I was shocked to find out how much he did and how many black charities and black people that he helped. So I don't want to really get into the whole thing, but do your research and look for yourself, and you'll be shocked at the good that Michael Jordan has done. Now, being out here in Hollywood, in the Hollywood Hills as well, makes me think about another person, Floyd Mayweather. I know a lot of black folks hate Floyd Mayweather, but as I said, when you're talking about the image, you have an image of a black man who basically beat up the boxing game and bamboozle all them Jews out of their money, making more money than them. You have a black man who made $300 million in one day. I don't care what you hate about his flashing. And that's another thing that tripped me out about black folks. Y'all watch music videos where rappers all day, that's all they do is brag. Show their cars, this. I got a Bentley, girls. That's all they do is brag. 24/7, rapping. But here you have a short brother kicking ass in the boxing ring. I'm talking about fighting with his own hands, making a killing. And y'all can't respect that. A brother fighting for his money. Black brother. I don't care about his personal life and how much you hate about him flashing. Rappers do the same thing in every video, and I don't hear y'all hating. Y'all congratulate them. They call women bitches and hoes and this and that. They get congratulations. But here you have a young brother fighting for his money. I'm really shocked to see how many people hate Floyd. But yeah, Floyd is another example. Now I can see why people don't like him, but when it comes to his boxing ability, when it comes to his, he employs a lot of black folks. When you look at the whole Money Mayweather team, a lot of black people he hire. He donates money to boxing rings, charities. He's another person who donate money that I was shocked who donate money. He just don't brag about it as much. And of course, it's not going to be put out in the media as much. But still, scrap all that. We have to protect the image of this rich, successful black man and not let these people tarnish the image. That's what we have to do. And we got to stop jumping on the bandwagon. Whenever somebody hate, we hate. Especially when it's our own people. When he fought Manny Pacquiao, how many black people actually bought that fight just to see him lose was crazy. And then when he won, people said, he danced around the ring, he did this, he ran this and that. You had a black man just make in front of a bunch of white people $300 million, hundreds of $1 million in one night. And y'all want to talk down to that. That is an accomplishment. That is something we should be celebrating. Forget his personal life. The image of a black man making all that money in one day should be something that we should be proud of. Now, of course, I know it's going to be some people who disagree with me, who disagree with that whole statement about Michael Jordan and about Floyd Mayweather, but that's fine, to each his own. I'm not talking about them as people. I'm talking about the image they portray, if you can understand that. You want to jump on the whole thing about best basketball player, best fighter, that's a whole other topic. I'm talking about the image that these people portray, and we can't hate on that as black people. We have to celebrate that and support that. And that is the issue with the black community. We don't celebrate our accomplishments enough. You have brothers out here who have clothing lines, who designing clothes. I seen a brother designing shoes, and people look at, that they ain't better than Gucci, or they ain't better than polo shirts, or they just hate on this brother who trying to do something positive and put out stuff to build the economy for the black community. We have to support that. And that is the issue. We don't support enough. We don't congratulate enough. And to me, even if you can't pay money and buy things, congratulations, support, promotion for this black person doing something with their life, doing something positive. It's just as good. It's just as good. You know what I'm saying? So, people, we have to really start paying attention and peeping the trap, because these music videos and this whole me, society that we live in as black people is a trap to keep us down. If you keep constantly thinking about what you're doing and your accomplishments and not thinking about everybody as a whole, we as a people suffer. And that's the thing. We need to do things collectively. It's sad when a black person come up with a good idea and then try to, bring other black people in, and they just look at it like, it's not going to work. Or where the money going to come from? Negativity. I've seen that a lot. Instead of us doing what white people do, let's put our heads together and figure this thing out. We always want to be negative about something when a person is trying to be positive, and it has to stop in order for us to be successful as a people. So again, us hating on each other is not going to be the solution. If your goal is not to someday own your own company, You are not going to be helping in the progression of African American people. You can work for whoever you're working for now, but your long-term goal should be, as a black person, if you want to help African Americans grow as a people, you should be working towards owning your own company, having your own business, being in power in business for yourself. I was in a Michael's today, arts and crafts store, and young brother asked me a question about the supplies I had. He thought I drew faces. It was some stuff I needed for a project I'm working on. And I asked him, I said, "Do you draw?" He said, "Yeah." I said, is it something you want to pursue later in life? And he was like, "No, it's just a hobby." What he want to do is he wants to open his own company. And this young brother said this, true story. He said, "I want to open my own company because there's not that many black people who have stores in my neighborhood." And I'm in California, so I was shocked, and he's right. I can't find one black owned store nowhere near me. Not one. I'm talking about a black owned store that's on par with these white people. I mean, it's Mexicans all over the place. They got majority of the businesses around here. But this young brother knew just from his age that something is wrong. And I don't see any black stores nowhere. And we actually engaged in a conversation about that. So I'm like, damn, this young boy, 16 years old, same age as my son. And my son, he draws and everything too. Same age, and he got it. He knew that, something is up, and we have to do something as a people to put more businesses out there. And he understood that, and he said, I want to own my own company and do my own thing, and I want to have black stores in the black community. And that's something I was like, wow, that's what's up. And he told me his dad was is a Moor, and that makes more sense when he told me that. But it's not about hating on people. Got to stop doing that. As I said, people like Floyd Mayweather and Michael Jordan, a lot of these black celebrities are, sellouts, or they're not doing as much as they should for the black community. But some are, Michael Jordan, I was reading how they want to let his black friends onto the golf course, and some of his black friends was having trouble getting into the golf course. So what did he do? He built his own golf course. And now he teaches black kids how to play golf. They have whole programs and stuff like that. And I was reading another thing, how when he won this lawsuit, Michael Jordan, I think it was like $20 million that he won, and he donated the whole lawsuit, all the money, to South Chicago, the schools and everything, helping the schools out, helping the black community out. So stuff like this we don't read about, we don't see. I never knew Floyd Mayweather donated to charities at all, not 1 cent. And I was shocked to read about this stuff. But as I said, it's not about these people. It's about the image, and we must protect that image of successful black people. We have to start to build to where the wealth gap is not so big. Us versus white people. They call us minority for a reason. And it's a lot of reasons for that. But to be called something minor as a people is crazy. And when the news say stuff like that, when we call minorities, we should all stand up and say, don't fucking call me that. This is some bullshit, a minority. When black people say, and I know this happens a lot, and sometimes it's a good thing, but I hate that saying when people say the first black person, or, oh yeah, he was the first black person to do this, or she was the first black woman to do that, as if, we handicapped. As if we are retarded and it's something major when we do something, when we accomplish something. And, that's crazy to me, because you don't hear people say, well, yeah, it's the first white man to do this, or the first white person to do that. I mean, saying, it's like, it's a compliment and an insult at the same time when they say the first black, or the first African American. And I know that, we should celebrate that. We should separate us from them in terms of accomplishments, since we have so much against us. That's fine. But when we say it in that way, the first black or the first African American, I mean, it's almost an insult, instead of us just simply saying that, this African American brother built this or did that or graduated from this school. That's enough said. He's African American. He graduated from Harvard, or top of his class, or highest GPA in this. Instead, the first black, it's like, oh, come on. Like, we can't all do this. And in some cases, it's just degrading, and it's like, come on. But I hope this video really wake people up and start to think about the economic situation in the black community, because really right now there's none. We give them our money, they give us nothing. We buy, they sell. Nothing stimulates the economy in the black community. Nothing helps our kids go to college more. We instead put their kids through college. And things like this has to stop, or else the black community is going to stay in the position that it's in. They are tearing down what used to be projects and putting up houses that black folks can't afford. And sooner or later, they're going to price us out of certain locations that have now become, more popular. I mean, look at Long Beach. Look at Compton now. I mean, here on the West Coast. I mean, Inglewood even. They really starting to move people out and build homes that people can't afford. Same thing in Philly, where I'm from. It's the same situation. They're starting to price people out of certain areas because now, today, those areas are more beneficial to them economically. So they can use eminent domain to come in there and kick you out your house and build something nice there because they're going to be building a hotel or casino nearby. So, I mean, if you don't own your house, if you don't own something, I mean, we are slowly being pushed out. And the same thing that happened, in the 60s when they pushed us in these projects and pushed us in these black neighborhoods and areas, it's going to happen again. And we're going to find ourselves in a location that's worse than the ghettos we came from. And we got to pay attention and start looking at that. So we actually have to look at the fact that since the 60s and since integration, the decline of black businesses in the black community, which is why I talked about this earlier, we have to really look at that and see this as a shot, as an attack, as them using us to fuel their economic gain, to stabilize their economy while at the same time destroying ours. Since integration and desegregation, black businesses have been on a decline. You see the state of the black economy today, and we got to look at it and say that, us coming from out of the black community to where we are today, to spending, almost $1 trillion a year on their companies while we have, very few of our own, is the reason why we are in this situation. We got to really understand that they are not going to pass any bills, any laws that's going to help black people come from out of the black community. They're not going to pass any laws that's going to give us more money to help us rival them. So unless we do it ourselves, unless we grow up and understand we have to open our own companies and build our own economics, we are not going to get where we need to be. So this is my quick little video, and it's not like I have to really tell black folks about the economic situation in the black community. We all know about it. We live it. We are aware of it. But it needs to be brought more to the attention of African Americans about the state of the black community. And we need to really more engage and talk about the situation more, because we are the future and our children are the future. And we are now, if you close to my age, I'm 34, if you're younger than me or in that bracket, I mean, you are now in a position where you are in your careers, or you're in school, or you're growing towards your final career, or you're already investing in things and stuff like that. So the trajectory of your life, the position, the road that you're heading towards now should be going towards something that's going to benefit not just you and your family, but the African American community as a whole. You should be, racing towards success as far as your own business or company, or instilling those thoughts into your children and telling them, hey, don't be working for this man or working for this, and then you look up and you're 65 and you ain't did nothing but work for the white man your whole life, and you get a small little pension. And I mean, what kind of life is that? You're 65 and you still got to work, some people. Or you don't have enough money to live successful. Like, I mean, at 65, I want to be balling. I want to be stinking rich and not have to worry about money. You got to put yourself in a position to do that. And as I talked about in the previous video, I was talking about life insurance, doing what the Jews do, how they take out life insurance policies on their parents and grandparents and stuff like that. So when they pass, I mean, they have crazy money. We got to do stuff like this. You got an elderly grandmom or mom or a situation like that, pay the money. You're going to pay your cable bill. That's about $200 a month. Phone bill and all that. I mean, it's the same thing for life insurance. Pay that little $150, $200 a month.
keep paying it. If it's for 5 years, 10 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, you can have $200,000, $1 million in your bank account when a loved one passed. And it's crazy that we are not doing this. This is how they are building wealth. I mean, imagine that if you have a whole community of Jewish people who have life insurance policies out on loved ones. When they pass, not only does that wealth that they died and left pass on to them, but you have a policy now in place to where they can get the policy as well, and that's more wealth. So if you take one African American community, and if everybody in that black community took out a life insurance policy on a parent, when their parents die, because they all probably within that same age bracket, when they die, you're talking about a black community that's coming from poverty, and now because of this life insurance policy, boom, they all, upper middle class, or they can now afford to open a business, or they can afford to buy a house and own that house. You just generated, you just basically changed the whole community. Everybody now within the next 10, 20 years, 5, 10, 20 years is going to be in a situation where they're doing well. And then from that, now you have a foundation where you're starting off with wealth, with a nice chunk of change. And from that, your kids is going to come from a nice home with money, a successful situation. And then from there, it's going to keep growing. This is how they grow their communities. We are not doing that. Somebody died and it's an argument about their TV in the black community. Oh, who going to get their car? Who going to get the little, $3,000 in the bank account? Who going to pay for the funeral? We argue instead of saying, you know what, it's taken care of, it's done. And then now I have the money from the insurance policy to take care of my family and put us in a situation that's out of this ghetto in a situation where I can go to college, I can pay for them to go to school, and we can build something now as a family because we were smart enough to take out the life insurance policy. I know that whole situation is something that's touchy and it's crazy, and it's like nobody want to deal with that whole death situation, but you got to be smart about it. You got to be grown up about it. When somebody passes and it's a chance for you to actually build wealth from it, come on. It's taking something good out of a tragic situation, out of a bad situation, and using it to better your life. I guarantee you, if I pass, my son, my sister and brothers and them and everything like that, because they have life insurance and all that, is going to be upset. But at least it's money that's left behind to where they can still be successful, and now I have to just deal with the pain of my passing, but they can also now build wealth and success from it. It's something that we have to really take into consideration. It's not even something we got to take into consideration. It's something you have to do because they're doing it and they're getting wealthy, and it's something that I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, I came into some money because a loved one passed, and we are never the beneficiaries of these situations, and we need to start to be, and it's something we need to do. But I don't want to get into it too deep. You already know the situation. It's more videos I'm going to get into about economics, but I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this video. I have the DVD coming out. Please purchase the DVD. The whole purpose of the DVD is so that I can get my book out. I want to actually buy the copies. I want to self-publish. I don't really want to go through nobody. I want to buy the actual books and get them in stores, but it's a steep price for that. And it's north of 10 grand to get the many copies that I want to put out and have them sold in stores. But the good thing is, if we sell a certain amount, and like Amazon or Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that, they'll buy books from you then. If you sell like 3,000, I think it is. So what I want to do is I really want to get these books printed on my own and put in stores, not just in America, but overseas as well. And hopefully, generate some feedback off of the book. Because I believe this book is a good book. But I want to thank you guys for watching. It's hot as a mug out here. I wanted to come outside and shoot this joint in a different location because it's so nice. And it's California. Look at the background. You got city over here, and I haven't been in California since film school, and it was cool to move out here and see some of the things that's out here, and it's banging out here. I'm up here right near the Hollywood sign. You can actually hike up there to it, I was actually going to go. It's so crowded. There's too many people here. I was going to actually hike up there and try to film on top of the Hollywood sign because it's a good view. I'll probably do that with another video and try to get different locations. I've been sitting in my studio in my house and most of the videos, and I want to try to get around town because California is beautiful, and try to shoot at different locations. And the people have been cool and not walking through recording and stuff like that. People have been walking behind, in front of the camera and everything like that, so not in the way. So it's been cool. It's not bad, and it's a lot of little gecko things running around out here. I can say that, but I don't want to be out here too late because I know they got mountain lions and things like that. But yeah. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next video. And don't forget, pick up the DVD. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate your guys' support and being behind me and everything that I've been doing on this whole journey. A lot more to come. Thanks for watching.